Do ghosts haunt places, or do they haunt people? Tonight's story deals with both. My friend Jenny was a cheery, happy-go-lucky young woman. She rode one of those crotch rocket bikes and loved riding it. Always up for new and exciting things, she took a job as a security guard for the casino I worked at. Jenny was always that ray of sunshine that would bring you up if you were feeling down. Even when she was having a bad day, she always made it a point to make sure you were feeling better. After a year, Jenny was promoted to a gaming officer. She was really happy, as this was an entry point to getting into the upstairs offices. She would tell me often that if she got in, we both were in. I worked on the floor, paying out jackpots and getting change for gamers. Not a bad job, but not something I wanted to be doing in 10 years. Not long after her promotion, she started acting funny, though. Not so much that people noticed it right away, but enough that I saw it. She would come to work tired or come late, but never said why. I noticed her attitude changed as well. She was more jumpy and cautious than normal. One time during a conversation we were having on the floor, she stopped and just stared at me. I realized after a little bit that she wasn't staring at me, but behind me. I turned but saw nothing. Jenny snapped out of it after a bit and brushed it off. Lost her train of thought, she said. I didn't question it at the time. One day, Jenny came in 2 hours late. Her superior wasn't too happy. He actually sought me out on the floor to see if I could get a hold of her. When she did come in, she looked the worse for wear. Jenny's eyes were red, her hair unkempt, and she was jittery. When questioned by her boss, she put it as a late night out. Later during our shift, though, she pulled me aside and asked to meet up after work. We met that evening at Denny's, and she proceeded to tell me what was going on. She, as she put it, was having weird crap happen to her. It started subtly at first. A chill here, a noise there, nothing she couldn't explain away. But as time progressed, things got weirder. The chills got colder, the noises got louder and more frequent. Things were never where they should be. Her desk was always rearranged from how she left it. She thought that someone was messing with her, even voicing her concern. But no one ever came forward. When she was walking the casino floor, she would feel a tap on her shoulder or a tug on her shirt, with no one around. When she would walk to her office, located in a less trafficked area of the building, she always heard footsteps in line with hers, as if someone was walking right behind her. She was afraid to use the restroom as well. She refused to go alone. It was there one day, she said, things got terrifying. Sitting in a stall, there was a single light knock on the stall door. She had announced herself. Then someone knocked again, this time tapping twice, louder than the first time. She said again it was occupied, when the door began to rattle, as if someone was jarring the door forcefully. Then it stopped. Angry now and tired of the joke, Jenny started to stand up when she saw, to her horror, the sliding lock began to slowly move, unlocking itself. Jenny grabbed the door handle and flung the door inward. No one was there. Peering out side to side, the restroom was empty. Slowly, she checked each stall. No one was there. Washing up, she was about to leave when she glanced in the mirror. Peeking out from the last stall was a dark mass, human in form, red pinpoints of light where its eyes should be. Jenny turned her head away from me, embarrassed. I ran away then, she said. Straight to the floor. I didn't want to be alone, she said. Jenny said she had seen it so many times since. The day she ran late, she had awoken around 3 in the morning. Her room was dark, unusually so. Jenny realized she couldn't speak or move. She tried to, she told me, but she couldn't. and she had a feeling of dread like she wasn't alone. The only thing she could move was her eyes. She recalled looking up, seeing the same dark mass. Now, though, in the darkness, the red pinpoints of light were so much brighter and filled with evil somehow. Jenny clenched her eyes shut at it, trying to scream, tears streaming down her face. She opened her eyes to the thing's form even closer above her. Suddenly, her scream broke from her lips, and she was able to move. She jumped out of the bed and tried the light near her bed, but it wouldn't work. The mass drifted down, blocking her bedroom door. Jenny ran into the closet and shut the door, pulling the light chain. The bulb flickered twice and then flared to life, light flooding the tiny closet. Afraid of opening the door, Jenny could sense the thing moving around the room beyond. Jenny didn't know how long she had cowered there, finally falling asleep at some point. She had awakened almost at noon. The closet door stood open, she said, like a taunt from the thing. It could take her whenever and wherever it liked. She had quickly gotten dressed and came in, hence her appearance that day. After our talk, I insisted she stay with me. Things ramped down then. Nothing happened at my place, and occurrences at work slowed and appeared to have stopped within the week. Jenny quickly returned to her vibrant self. She was peaceful and was sleeping and eating normally now. The day Jenny died was one of the strongest and scariest days of my life. It started with me going in like normal. Jenny came in at 12 and I was scheduled at 2. Things were pretty normal and we went to lunch at 5. During lunch she told me she was going to try going back to her place for the night. The last few days were pretty good and she hoped that whatever it was had finally left her alone. Afterwards we went back to our posts. Later in the day I was asked to stay a few hours late as a co-worker had suddenly taken ill and gone home. Knowing Jenny wouldn't be in my place, I agreed. Shortly afterwards I began feeling uneasy. Everywhere I went I felt I was being watched. On the floor, in the offices, walking down the back corridors. I couldn't explain it. I felt someone was staring a hole in me, as they say. It somehow felt angry, like I had offended someone, and they were watching, waiting to catch me unaware. When Jenny was leaving for the night, she smiled, just like her old self, and told me she felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. It seemed forever since she'd felt so alive. She wanted to enjoy her ride home. I smiled back and didn't mention my own growing unease. Jenny hugged me then, and I asked her to text me when she made it home. Walking away, she lifted her helmet and a waved goodbye, for what was to be the last time. I headed back to the floor, my feeling of unease growing. Around 11 p.m. I decided to take a restroom break. I called a co-worker over to cover and headed to the employee restroom in the back of house. I left the bright lights and noisy floor and started walking the plain, silent corridors for employees only. With each step my feeling of dread deepened. My footsteps echoed off the bare walls, and I glanced back several times, sure someone was walking on my heels. Entering the washroom, I chuckled softly to myself and stepped to a urinal. Afterwards, I washed my hands and dried them, starting to leave when a single, soft knock came from the direction of the stalls. Turning back, I saw it, peering out from the furthest stall, a dark mass, human in form, red pinpoints of light where its eyes should be. I blinked, and it was gone. I stood there frozen. The dread and unease I had felt drew together into a knot in the pit of my stomach. I barely had time to turn to the paper towel bin before throwing up. Something was so wrong. I felt it. I cupped some water in my hands and swished my mouth clean. Stumbling out of the restroom, I made my way back to the floor. Quickly, I texted Jenny, hoping she had gone straight home and wasn't out enjoying the night air for a ride. No response then or the next 10 texts I sent within the hour. My extended shift ended, and I began calling her. Every 10 minutes I called Jenny till her voicemail registered full. At home, I fell asleep with my phone in hand, waiting for her call. It was my sister who finally called early the next morning. Her boyfriend was an EMT, and he had responded to an accident call. Single vehicle crash. Jenny was found 40 feet away from her bike, her neck broken. Her bike lay wedged beneath the guardrail in a sharp curve. Months later, Josh, my sister's boyfriend, said he thought it was such an odd accident scene. He thought it weird that she would have landed 40 feet away. The speed limit on the curve was 20 miles per hour, and her bike had suffered very little damage. The accident reenactment team had found Jenny was only going 10 to 15 when she'd lost control. They had determined she had fallen asleep and crashed. Josh said they all wondered about how she flew 40 feet from such a crash, though. One guy jokingly suggested Jenny had been swatted like a bug from her seat. It's been almost a month since we laid Jenny to rest now. For the past several nights I've dreamed about her. She's talking to me, her voice pleading and sometimes frantic with panic. I can't understand what she's saying, though. Her tone doesn't match her face. She wears a blank, emotionless expression. Her eyes are the worst part. Dark, dead things. They have none of the joyful sparkle they had in life. Then she points behind me, and like a fool, I turn to it. The dark, human mass, its red pinpoint eyes, behind me. The thing I saw the day my friend died. My alarm goes off then, and I wake up. Glancing at the alarm clock, it reads 12:20. It's not, though. I look at my phone to confirm it. See, one thing I forgot to mention. The time when I threw up in the restroom, that was 12:20. The coroner's report on Jenny's accident, time of death, you guessed it, 12:20. I reset the damnable thing before bed every night. Still, when I wake, it always reads 12:20 after the dream. I'm having trouble sleeping now, between the dreams and the feeling of being watched constantly when I'm awake. Here, alone in my apartment, is the worst. Feels like someone is watching me from the dark corners of my bedroom. No wonder Jenny looked like hell. I'm terrified of what's waiting for me. Should I wake up frozen, unable to move? I keep the lights on always now. Still, ever so often, I see that shadowy figure peeking out, waiting patiently, waiting for me. And that was The Thing I Saw the Day My Friend Died. Author Seth Razzle. Adapted here by Tom Brown.